Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey rockers, our guest today has given us the groove on so many great records, from Dokken to Dio to Foreigner to Black Swan to The End Machine, and many more. But his latest release, that's out right now, is a brand new record from Revolution Saints. I am so happy to be joined by Jeff Pilson. Jeff, thanks for coming by Radio Bypass.
My pleasure.
Great to have you. So, as we just said, you got a million things, but the latest thing that's out at the moment is the Revolution Saints album. And I believe it's your second round with the Revolution Saints, right? So the new record, I first heard Changing My Mind was the initial track that I heard. Really good. But I have to say, now that I've gotten to hear the whole record, I still need to listen to it a few more times because my favorites change as I have more listens. But I'm really digging Lost in Damnation right now. I would pick out as my top favorite track.
Wow, cool. Cool.
Now this record, I know a lot of the records, you're the producer, you're writing the songs and all that, but this one you were mainly a musician on this one, just playing the bass, right? You didn't write these
bass
songs?
Player, yeah. Which is kind of great because, I as much as I do love producing all the projects I do and everything, it is nice to be in a situation where you can just kind of sit down and just play your instrument and know that somebody else is overseeing the whole thing. And because I trust him, it's Alessandro Del Vecchio, because I trust him so much, it's easy for me to let go and just kind of be the bass player. So it's kind of a nice situation for me.
Yeah, I bet. It's got to be maybe a little less stressful.
Well, yeah, I mean, although, the stress of making a record is something I'm so accustomed to that it's more that when I'm playing, I get to kind of just let go into the playing, and I get to just be the player. Because even when I'm playing on one of our records, yeah, I get into it and I'm the player, but I always have to be thinking, well, how is this going to work in the long term and blah, blah, blah. I have to think logistically. There are logistics in producing that you have to kind of keep in mind. And I don't have to worry about that when I'm just playing bass. So it's a nice thing. I guess that means less stress, but I feel that that's a misrepresentation because it's a stress, it's a labor of love kind of stress. So
Right.
So I don't want to call it stress. Let's just call it less responsibility, and I just get to be the player.
Right. I like that. Less responsibility. That's good. Because you're right. It's joyful stress, right? So yeah.
Right. Right.
So what drew you to Revolution Saints? I mean, you've got so many great players that you work with and so many projects that are so great. What interested you and what drew you to Revolution Saints?
Well, it's real simple. Dean's voice, Dean's drumming, and Joel's guitar playing. When I got the call, Frontiers asked me if I'd be involved because Jack and Doug had left. And when I heard it was Joel and Dean, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, I'd never worked with Dean before, but I've been a friend of his forever. And we toured together, and I love his drumming. And I knew about his voice because I, would hear him sing Journey songs. And then when I heard the Revolution Saints music, it was like, his voice just moves me. I mean, it really does. I think it's a fantastic voice that really needs to be out there and exposed. Public needs to hear him. And it's kind of amazing. So that, and then Joel. I mean, I've worked with Joel before. Joel is a Class A musician at the top of the heap. You just don't get any better than Joel. He's a great guy. He's a great writer. He's got it all.
Right.
So, I mean, and just, I mean, come on. Myself, Joel, and Dean, that's a powerful trio right there. How could I say no to that?
Right. No, I agree. I just was curious what attracted you to it. Because obviously you've got other people you work with that are great too. But yeah, no question. Joel's amazing. Happy to say he's from my hometown of Chicago, even though he doesn't live there now. But and I think you were born in Illinois too, right?
Absolutely.
Did you were you raised there or no?
No, I only lived there a year, and then we moved to New York. Then my father died in a car wreck, and then we moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So neighbors, 90 miles away.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, as I thought I remembered back in the Dokken days, I worked at a radio station in Highland Park, and I thought somebody told me, "Oh yeah, Jeff Pilson's from Lake Forest," but
That's
I
what I
never
was.
knew if you were just born at Lake Forest Hospital or were raised there, or
No, I was born in Lake Forest Hospital. We actually lived in Libertyville.
Gotcha, gotcha. So just a little south of where I worked. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, no, Joel's amazing, obviously, and Dean, I was not overly familiar with him as a singer either before Revolution Saints, because I have to admit I haven't heard any recent Journey stuff since he's been in the band, really. But when I heard his voice, I was like, man, this guy is definitely a lead singer, no question. And I didn't have time after this new record came out last week to go back and re-listen to some of the previous Revolution Saints records. But so I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but definitely on these tracks, I definitely hear a lot of emotion in the tracks. The humanity transfers through his voice, which I always love in a singer, when you can feel it's coming from deep inside what you hear.
Well, I mean, to me, that's the thing. His voice moves me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And and the beautiful thing is you can't explain that. It just happens. It's
right.
a tug of the heart. And that's when music's magic to me. When somebody's voice just moves you. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And that his voice is one of those voices. I mean, I'm very fortunate, and I get to work with some great singers. And he is one of them. Just no question. His voice moves me emotionally. And I don't know how much it has to do with the fact that I know the guy and he's just such a great human being. I don't know how much that plays into it, but I don't think it's as much as because it's natural. When I just hear him sing, I don't think about it, and all of a sudden I get moved. So he's just got one of those magical voices.
Yeah, agreed. So I'm really happy with this record. What I've heard of it so far. So I mentioned that I am so far hung up on Lost in Damnation as my favorite. Do you have a track or two that are your favorites? Because I'd like to, when we're done with this interview at the end, I want to put a couple of songs in. Is there any you suggest?
No, I mean, I love Lost in Damnation. That's a pretty cool track. I don't know, maybe that one. I'm not sure. Fall on My Knees is really strong. And I think as a song, I wouldn't call it my favorite on the record necessarily, but I think it's a really great song and deserves mention. Is Changing My Mind. I think that's just a really great song. So yeah, those are probably the three.
I'm going to make notes, and those are the ones we'll add.
Okay,
Because
great.
Fall on My Knees, I got to hear that again, because I do think I liked that a lot too.
Yeah.
All right, so change, and then my favorite, Lost in Damnation. Cool. So we'll definitely play those to feature those as part of this. So I'm excited for you, and I think you've got a very busy time coming up in just a couple of weeks, don't you? Foreigner starting up again in March.
They are actually. I'm flying to Montreal tomorrow because we have a excuse me. We have an acoustic show on Saturday there. Then I come home for about a week and a half, and then yes, it starts up full on with Foreigner starting March 1st. We are on the road pretty much till Thanksgiving. So gonna be intense. It's gonna be a great year of touring. It's our last year of big tour, long 9 months of the year on the road. It's our last year of doing that. So kind of emotional about that as well. So but yeah, that starts March 1st. Big year tour with Styx and John Waite in the summer. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I was thinking about you the other day when I knew we were going to be talking with Foreigner, that this is a pretty big achievement in the world of rock and roll. You've been in the band 20 years this year.
Yeah, I have. I know, it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
Great gig it's turned out to be. And the funny thing is, when I was first kind of pitched being in the band, it was like, oh, it's weekend work. We're just going to be weekend
fly dates.
Oh, right. Yeah. Fly dates, Weekend Warrior. Oh, okay. No problem. Because I was producing records at the time with Tommy Henriksen. But Sure turned out to be a lot more than that. But what a great gig. I mean, what a fabulous, I feel very fortunate. The band is great. Everyone in the band is great. We all listen to one another. We all enjoy playing the music. We all are very committed to it and committed to the legacy of Foreigner. And what more could I ask for?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. And I know you mentioned, this is the end, this year is the end of the big touring, the long term, but that doesn't mean the end of Foreigner per se.
No.
So you'll probably do dates here and there, sporadic.
Probably do dates here and there, corporate dates, things like that. We'll see. I honestly don't know. But I know we are going to be still doing some playing in 2025. It just won't be that long 9 months of touring.
Right. But what I was going to ask you is there a chance of another Foreigner record of new material? Now that the touring part's going to wind down, maybe giving you guys a little more time to do some recording.
I don't know about a whole new record. That's kind of a tall order at this point. But there are some songs floating around that are unfinished. So I would love to see those. I mean, we've talked about it that in 2025 we could maybe finish some of those. Hopefully that'll happen because it would be great to have some new music out there, and these songs are great. So they're not quite finished as compositions. That's what has to happen. So once that happens, hopefully we're not talking long, and at least a couple of Foreigner songs come out in 2025.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
It would.
And then you mentioned just a moment ago about producing back when this started 20 years ago. And I did want to ask you about that because I know you've done a lot of production work. I know you produced the Black Swan stuff and a whole lot of other things. But back in the Dokken days, in the 80s, you had the opportunity as a band to be produced by Tom Werman, Michael Wagner, two pretty big names back in that time frame in production. And I was curious, did that spark your interest in becoming a producer? And were they influential on even maybe what you do today as a producer?
Oh, wow. Big question. Good question.
Big question.
So I already had the bug long before we worked with Tom or Michael. I was the guy when I was 16 years old that I was playing into a cassette machine. I had two cassette machines, then I'd play back the cassette machine and sing along or play along and overdub it onto another cassette. I've always loved recording. I've always loved all that part of the process. So no, it didn't spark my interest, but I will say, yeah, I learned from every producer I worked with. I've been lucky, learned from Tom Werman, Neil Kernan, Michael Wagner, Wynn Davis. There's a whole Keith Olsen. I've Roy Thomas Baker. I've worked with a whole bunch of people, and I think I learned something from each one. Valuable things that, yes, of course, I carry to this day. I try and soak up whatever I can. I was very fortunate too when we were doing the Tooth and Nail record. We had an engineer by the name of Jeff Workman. Unfortunately, no longer with us, but Jeff was on so many classic albums in the 70s, and really a fascinating guy. And he was the type of guy that liked to sort of mentor someone. So I would stay with him every night after the sessions for Tooth and Nail, and I would just stay and learn. It was an amazing thing. I learned so much from Jeff Workman too. So I learned from everyone.
Right. Yeah, I was just curious about that because I know you're into it, and knowing the pedigree of some of the, I didn't know you worked with Roy Thomas Baker though, but knowing the pedigree of some of the folks you worked with, I thought, man, that's gotta possibly be where it sparked for you, or at least taught you things that perhaps are still usable today, even though the way we record is a little different nowadays, of course. But
well, it's funny because I think it was the Tooth and Nail record where I always had the interest, and I always kind of thought, yeah, I'll be a producer someday. But I think during the Tooth and Nail record is when I kind of saw how it could become a reality. I really learned a lot more detail about the process from Tom, especially from Jeff Workman. And I think it was during that period that I really saw the vision of myself as a producer. and started to produce some outside things at that point. You know, Dokken had been producing things before we started on their record. So, you know, I learned from Don as well. And then when it came to Tooth and Nail, I mean, I kind of got an opportunity to do a little producing during the record because Tom Werman didn't really want to work with Don vocally. So I would say by default produced a lot of the vocals on Tooth and Nail, and that was a cool experience. Great experience. I mean, I was the new guy in the band, and they were letting me do that, which was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And you're still very young at the time too. So yeah, that's really cool. Well, that's it. Yeah, I did not know that you were involved to that degree with that record. But yeah, what a great album that is too. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because you know, production. I always just think, especially today, a lot of things that I hear, new recordings, they're just not as good as they could be. I don't think, and not as good as what we heard growing up. In terms of the overall sound and the thought to space in the songs, breathing, different things.
Yeah.
But everything like you've done, like I say, the Black Swan records, I think are produced perfectly. But I just find that it's production sometimes I think gets overlooked. And so I'm always interested when somebody's interested in it, especially a performer and a songwriter, because I'm assuming that as you started thinking about production, did it influence your songwriting at all too? Did you start hearing the way you're writing a piece differently?
How could it not? Yeah, of course. And well, I mean, you know, and to me, producing and songwriting, even though they're technically two different skills, the idea of a producer is to marry everything together, right? So of course you're marrying in the songwriting process to the record making. So I think as much as anything, as a producer, becoming more adept at producing makes you more aware of the quality and the level of songwriting, and it makes you realize how important it is. I mean, if you have a bad song, you can produce it all you want, and it's probably always going to be a bad song. You can maybe make it sound cool, and you can do things to it. And you know, I mean, I've certainly had to do bad songs in my production days. Some of them I've written, but you know that it does. It makes you hyper aware of the quality of song. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, and maybe this is a good segue to something that I did want to mention too about you that impressed the heck out of me, songwriting wise, is from the Shake the World album, Divided United. That song, that track, blew me away. And when this record came out, Robin McCauley joined me on this show to talk about the record. And I had asked him about that song, and he said, "Oh, no, Pilson wrote the whole thing." And he just went home and banged it out after seeing Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'm like, really? You know, that's mind-blowing, because the lyrics, it's not just the music. I mean, the music is freaking killer, but the lyrics also were very heartfelt and spoke to me. They meant something to me. And my understanding is you wrote all of it, words and music.
Well, I didn't. The only thing I didn't write musically was the riff at the end. Reb wrote that because I knew what it was. I knew what it was supposed to. I knew we had to come up with this great riff to end it off with. That was kind of the plan. But I remember saying to Reb, "Okay, no pressure. You got to write the greatest riff in the world." And he was like, "Okay." But you know what? We sat down and he got into the zone, and he all of a sudden that riff came out and it was like, done. It's done. So Reb wrote that riff. I believe I did write all the lyrics, and I believe I did write all the music to the earlier part. And yeah, I came back after seeing, actually, when I came back after seeing Bohemian Rhapsody, what I came up with was the chorus. I don't think I wrote the whole song that night, but I got.
That's what I was wondering, if the whole thing spilled out.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just the chorus, but I had kind of an idea, and I knew in my mind sort of what it was going to be. So I feel like it was all in place at that first night, and then it was a matter of just filling in the blanks.
Well, you filled them in quite well, sir. Yeah, that song was just amazing. Like I say, lyrically too was just great.
Although, and the other thing about it is that song did really become a song when Robin sang it because, I mean, I sang a demo version of him just to show it to him. And, I mean, I was writing it with him in mind. But then when he came in and sang it, I mean, I got so emotional and it was like, wow. I mean, something it just connected. It must have connected with him because when he came in to sing it, I just remember thinking, wow, this is even better than I thought it was. This is like, I'm getting chills thinking about it. I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
making me get goosebumps
yeah,
here.
it was a really amazing thing. I mean, that vocal, some of his vocal just, wow. I mean, that's one. I think that's one of his finer vocal. Well, they're all great. I mean, he's such a great singer. But yeah,
Amazing.
he came in and again, as a writer, you're never sure when you're writing for somebody else. You're never sure how it's going to turn out. You know, um, and it came out even better than I could have imagined. So. I'm so glad you picked up on that song because it's very special to me as well, and I'm just glad that translates.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, in my book, I mean, I don't know, I don't write songs per se, but if I were you, I'd be very, very put that, even though you've had a lot of great stuff throughout your career, I'd put that right at the top of my portfolio of things to be proud of because that's
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah, I also like the production on it too. I mean, I'm obviously going very Queen, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, clearly, yeah. But
Yeah.
lyrically, though, I mean, I saw Bohemian Rhapsody, I think, around the same time that you must have, based on the conversation I had with Robin. But lyrically, did something in that movie inspire you lyrically too?
No, 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 no. What was going on at the time that happens to still be going on is what
Sadly,
what inspired me. Lyrically, no, lyrically had nothing to do with Queen or the movie or anything. That was,
just the state
but
of affairs that we were in.
I gotta say, I think if I'm not mistaken, this is a couple years ago now, but if I'm not mistaken, I had a concept that I wanted to do some kind of a song that was, divided, a song that talked about division that gave a positive, united message at the end. I think I had that in mind already, and then when I started playing, it just kind of fell together.
Well, thanks for doing that. I
The,
appreciate
the lyrics to the chorus did come that night, so yeah, it was part of
that.
what I was writing it, so that was cool.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate the slice of positivity with that song.
Yeah, much needed.
Now, while we're on Black Swan, real quick, so we were lucky enough, I say we as fans, lucky enough to have 2020 and 2022, so a 2 year pattern for Black Swan. 2024 is here. I don't think we're getting a new Black Swan this year. We're not staying on the every 2 year track. But what about next year?
Yes. Well, yeah, last week Reb Beach was here for a whole week and we're 7 songs into the next Black Swan record that yeah, won't see completion till 25. But I do believe it will come out in 2025. But because my schedule gets kind of crazy starting in March,
Just
finishing writing
open.
the rest and then Robin doing his part in writing is gonna it's gonna take a while. So but yeah, I would say sometime in 2025 we got a gigantic head start, and it's gonna be really cool. So yeah, I would say 2025, another Black Swan.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys are choosing to do another because both records, I mean, Generation Mine too, even though I'm hung up on Shake the World only because you had to go and write this killer cut above the everything type song, but Generation Mine was nothing to,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that album either. So
Great.
really excited to have a third and hopefully a fourth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
And then I've told Robin this, but I'll tell you too. Please clear time in your schedules so the four of you can get out there and perform this stuff live, would you?
In an ideal world, that would happen. I mean, I am hoping that when my schedule opens up a bit in 2025, I'm hoping one of these projects can somehow go play live if it's not Revolution Saints or M Machine, be it Black Swan. I would love that to happen. I always have to qualify that because my desire is there, but the logistics are difficult, and scheduling is nearly impossible. So I always have to qualify that it's, as much as we'd love to do it, it is really difficult to pull off. So I can't promise anything, but I can promise you that we'd love to.
Yes. Understood.
I mean, and Matt Starr being in the band, and Reb, who can sing way better than people realize. I mean, we would have 4 vocalists in that band that live, it would be so stellar. I mean, the thought of Black Swan playing live. I mean, have you ever heard Matt Starr sing? I mean, he's like a Chris Cornell. It's kind of crazy.
I have not had the pleasure of hearing him sing solo.
So that would be, I mean, to be able to go play live with that band vocally, really, really exciting. I mean, musically too, of course, but to have 4 singers go out there and sing some of this material, wow, would that be cool?
Well, maybe if you can't pull together schedules for, a tour, maybe you can do a special 1 or 2 nighter or something in Vegas, right? Foreigner's doing Vegas several nights toward the end of the year.
And the beginning of the year. We're also there at the end of March and early April.
Okay. Well, there you go.
2 residencies in 2024. It's pretty cool.
Okay. I had November in my mind because that's when I am planning on trying to come to one of the shows.
Okay, great. Yes, there is that one as well. But yeah. Very exciting.
Maybe you can do that, make it a destination event. Like, hey, you want to see Black Swan? We're all going to be doing these 2 days in Vegas or something.
Cool.
Even that would make the fans happy, I think.
I think so too.
And then while we're talking other bands, because we do need to circle back to Revolution Saints before we end our chat. But real quick, let's touch on the End Machine. Jeff Pilson. Jeff Pilson's here right now. George Lynch was here with me in December, and we talked about all the stuff he was doing. And then, of course, the upcoming End Machine, which at that point I hadn't gotten to hear any of. But he's like, oh, man, he goes, I think it's really good, because I was excited. Not that I don't love your other singer too, but this Garish, just as soon as I heard him with this band, The Chronicles, I was like, holy shit. This guy's something else. So I mentioned that to George, that I'm like, man, I can't wait to hear this. And he's like, oh, I think it's pretty special. I think it's pretty good. And now, of course, we've gotten the first single a couple of weeks ago, whatever it's been, I lose track of time. And now just this morning, I was excited to see that you released a second single. And the record, of course, is only 2-3 weeks away now, too, from being released.
March 8th.
March 8th. So I just got to compliment that record, too. And of course, we'd all love to see that live as well. So we're just going to keep bugging you to play live with all these bands. But the new End Machine is just killer. Now, I believe you produced that too, right?
Correct.
So what was that like for you?
Well, I mean, the End Machine, first of all, I love, it's safe to say George and I have a really great chemistry, and we love to work together, and we really do. That's why we do Heavy Hitters, which is our cover project, because we just love to work together. We love to make music together. It's an amazing thing. And so, it's real. The End Machine is really special. We now have a singer, Garish, who he has taken it to another level. And, it's just amazing. I mean, this record was really magical. We were, George and I have a great chemistry, and musically, everything flows. And when we got it to Garish and he came back with ideas, we realized, wow, not only is he an incredible singer, but he's a great writer as well. Which that's the trick, is being both. And he just came through. I mean, there was a few songs that we made suggestions on certain things, and most things we made some suggestions, but then there was a couple of rewrites, and his attitude about rewrites was great. No backlash on that. And he came through, and, when we did require a rewrite, he delivered. And that's not easy, because when you have an idea already, it's really hard to come back and do it all over again and rewrite it. I mean, that's tricky stuff. And he really did it great. And so, this M Machine, I mean, I feel as strong about a record as I could with this record. It's just, I mean, George is on fire. I mean, his solo on the first single, Silent Winter,
Oh my
I mean,
God.
another
Yeah.
masterpiece. It really is. He's just in such a great place with his playing right now. It's amazing. So in every way, the M Machine, I mean, Steve, I love working with Steve. Steve is such a fabulous drummer and such a great guy and a great singer as well. So I mean, we have a great chemistry with the M Machine, and it was so exciting to do this record, and I can't wait for people to hear it. I can't wait for them to hear the whole record because it's really a body of work, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, yeah, as you should be. I mean, based on the 2 tracks I heard anyway, I can't imagine I won't love the entire thing. So, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and hopefully George is going to come back when that record comes out. We talked about him coming back to talk about that one. So,
I know.
hopefully he will. But yeah, so I just love it. Got to compliment you there. I just want to make sure before we wrap up, and I did. Oh yeah, I did want to mention to you too, as far as you and George having chemistry. I told him this too. But on Heavy Hitters too, your version of Carry On is freaking awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Made me fall in love with that song all over again, yet differently than when I heard it as a little boy, right?
Yeah, yeah. It turned into a rock shuffle. That's really cool.
Really cool. And the Christmas song too, "It's a Wonderful Life," was very cool as well. I know that was before the Heavy Hitters 2 record, but very cool. So I did want to mention that. We talked about the Quantum Phase from End Machine coming out March 8th. Want to make sure we talk about that.
Yep.
We talked about my beloved Black Swan, probably my favorite band of the 21st century, I have to say, of all the things I've heard.
Pressure's on.
Yes. I mean, Jeff, I went on a listening spree again. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've already listened to these records, but knowing we were going to chat, I had to listen to those again. And then, of course, we mentioned this little band, and I went back and listened to some of this. These records were new when I used to work as a DJ on an actual radio station, and we played these songs like crazy. And I know on my radio show, from Under Lock and Key, I would always get requests, even though the bigger songs were not the one I'd get the request for, but was "Will the Sunrise." I used to get calls for that song so often.
I think that song, I believe is underrated in the Dokken Dokken catalog. I always thought that was just an amazing composition, and I got to say, it's a great example of the combination of the elements in Dokken, George's musical thing, and Don wrote the chorus to that, which I think is just absolutely amazing. He wrote the lyrics. George wrote the music to the chorus, and Don wrote the lyrics. And I mean, I just think it's astounding. That's where their chemistry to me really solidifies. And I always thought it was an outstanding example. We've done like acoustic versions over the years that I think kind of hold up nicely as well. I just think that I love that song, and I think it's underrated in the Dokken catalog, and I'm glad you picked up on it.
Yeah, no, another great song. I mean, and for me, a lot of great stuff from Dokken, but this Under Lock and Key as a full album, like start to finish, probably the strongest one, I think, in the catalog. My opinion.
Probably, yeah.
As a whole piece.
As a whole piece, yeah, probably. I mean, I think Tooth and Nail and Under Lock and Key are kind of quintessential Dokken. I think Under Lock and Key sounds better, although it also sounds a little more dated because it's got all the reverb on it and everything.
It does a little, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little swimmy. And Tooth and Nail is raw, but there's a cool rawness about it. But it's also a little ragged as far as sonically. When I hear it now, I think, oof.
Yeah, but that album would be a great choice for remastering, I think. Because
I think it would. I mean, a remix and a remaster would really do it to me. But
could you imagine with the way things sound today, how Alone Again would probably sound if that were?
Well, that's why I think it could be remixed to sound pretty fantastic now. So yeah, I mean, maybe that's a project we do down the line. No.
Right, there's another project for Jeff Pilson's recording studio, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to make you late for your next visit. But let's circle back to Revolution Saints real quick. So the new album, Against the Winds, it's out now. And we're going to play, as soon as Jeff and I stop talking here, we're going to play 3 tracks from it, guys. I've already played Changing My Mind on our music show, but I'm going to include that again because Jeff likes that one a lot. And we're going to go with Fall on My Knees that Jeff mentioned. And then my current favorite, which may change down the road, but right now, Lost in Damnation. So stick around for those 3 tracks. And Jeff, thanks so much for coming by, man. Such a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure. It was great.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Brand new music from Revolution Saints.
She was